So one of you guys asked for a video on all the stuff that I actually take to track, and I scrolled through the comments to find who it was, and I couldn't find you. But just know that this video is for you. So I'm gonna go through all the stuff that I take with me when I take the Yaris to track. So almost everything that I take is in here. This big race case that is full of all the stuff. It's this size because this is almost the exact size of the trunk of my FRS, and I used to take my FRS to track, but now I take the Yaris. So I could fit a lot more stuff. In fact, I also put in more stuff than just this, but we'll get to that in a second. This is a bag of tools. Socket set, impact gun, larger wrench, gloves, deep sockets, grips, screwdrivers, zip ties, and a couple little extra extensions and wrenches. You can never have too many extra tools at track, but at the same time you want to travel relatively light so you can fit it all, and unpacking and packing is not an absolute pain in the ass. I recommend having an extra individual of all your important parts. For instance, I keep this 21mm socket extra and loose in there because this one is the size that I need to pull off my lug nuts and change the wheels. I also recommend that before you go to track, you should go through the process of doing anything you think you're gonna have to do with the tools that you're taking. Because you might get into a situation where you know you have a 14mm with you, but you used the 14mm deep socket when you were working at home, and you have a regular socket, and now all of a sudden this doesn't work. Or the extension you have in your garage is a little longer than the one that you brought, and this one doesn't work as well. Just do it with the tools that you have at least once so you know they work. Torque wrench is super important, and I keep it separately so that it doesn't get screwed up. Tire pressure gauge. This is not my favorite. I used to have one that I liked a lot more than this, but it got stolen. But this one is working fine. This is an auto meter one. And this is how I can get accurate tire pressures on track. If I need to let out air, that is. If I need to put in air, I've got this. This is a little air pump that works off the cigarette lighter in the car. It's not super powerful, but I usually don't need a lot of power from this. This is just enough to get the tires back up to where I need it so that I can start balancing them out. Shop towels, and this is going to be one of the most important things to take with you, a jack. I also have a jack stand with me because if you're going to be working under the car for a longer period of time, you want something that has less tendency to fail than just the jack. I would recommend using both, honestly, if you're going to be under there for more than a second. Usually for changing the wheels, I just use the jack, but that's partially because I'm not under the car during that anyway. I've also got this. It's a little pamphlet thing. It's called Carol Smith's Engineer in Your Pocket. It's like a little flip book that tells you what kind of changes to your suspension do what kind of changes to your tire pressure do what, and it also tells you the opposite. If you're having an issue like understeer or lift off oversteer, it can start to help you diagnose where that problem might be coming from. Someone else who does track days recommended this to me. Super useful in figuring out what I could do to figure out the lift off oversteer on the Yaris. So highly recommend this thing. Other than that, I usually take a few spares, usually on the thing that I just replaced, because that's the thing I'm most likely to break. For instance, I have extra brake fluid and a brake bleeder in here, as well as the old 1NZ FE injectors, just in case the 1ZZs had failed on track, but they didn't. They worked out fine. So it's probably good to bring more extras than just this. Any kind of hosing, an extra belt would have helped me on that Chuckwalla incident. But live and learn. I still haven't learned. I still don't have a belt in here. I probably should. Other than that, I bring my helmet and a chair to sit in, as well as a cooler and pretty much a brick of waters that I just leave in there so that I've always got water, because that's absolutely the most important thing, especially when on track out in California. If you're going alone, the only other thing I would say is some kind of shade, probably not a full easy up because that might blow away, and especially if it blows away while you're out on track, there's very little you can do about that. If you're going with friends or you've got someone who's gonna like watch your camp and watch your stuff, easy up is great. I used to have a tiny little tent that was great for me. It was like a one-person awning. That unfortunately got stolen a couple track days ago. Laguna Seca. I never really talked about the fact that a bunch of stuff of mine got stolen the day after Laguna Seca. Yeah, it sucked. My truck got broken into. They didn't take the wheels though. I'd say one of the most important things is having other people, whether it's people that you know that go to the track and you guys are just gonna watch all your stuff in between sessions, like while one person's out on the track, the other person's watching the stuff. Or if you're coming down with a family member or a significant other and they're gonna be hanging out at your base camp while you're out on track. If they come in a separate car, all the better. Because A, that's a nice place to keep all the stuff and keep people away from the elements if it's really cold or really hot or anything like that. And also, worst case scenario, your car is undrivable after something bad happens on track. At least you have a car to get out from wherever you are, because tracks are usually pretty far away from where people live. Outside of that, there's one thing that I bring to track that most other people don't, and that's all my cameras. I usually have 4 or 5 cameras with me to film everything. I mainly use 3. This one that I'm talking to right now, a GoPro that's usually on the front of the car, and that 360 camera that I've been experimenting with. If you are gonna try and document the process, great, do it. I highly recommend it, it's very fun, and it keeps you honest. Make sure you charge all your batteries and empty out all your cards before you go to track. Make sure that you put your camera bag on the very, very top so that you can get to it first and start recording right away. And honestly, when in doubt, just shoot something on your phone because it's gonna be easier to get to your phone 9 times out of 10 anyway. So that's pretty much everything that I take to track. When I'm towing with the 4Runner, I take a little bit more. And I know I teased, there's a reason I haven't been doing that for a while, and maybe we'll see that in the next video. But for now, we've got more events coming up in the 2022 TRD series, and I'm gonna make videos about them.